Today I'm talking about one of my favorite island getaways from Seattle, Victoria, British Columbia.
Welcome to Vacation Mavens, the podcast that brings you travel inspiration and practical tips from two moms who know how to plan the perfect trip.
I'm Tamara from Your Time to Fly.
And I'm Kim from Stuffed Suitcase. With over 40 years of travel experience between us, we're here to share our favorite destinations from road trips to cruising, theme parks, and European adventures.
Whether you're planning a family vacation or a mom getaway, we have the tips and tricks to make memories that will last a lifetime. So Kim, on our last episode, you teased us that you were doing a weekend getaway to another country. And a lot of times people don't want to do a weekend getaway to another country. Although Glenn and I did fly to Amsterdam for a long weekend earlier this year. But you're a little closer to another country. And from what I understand, you don't even need to take a car or a plane.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about what did you do recently?
Yeah, I don't think people realize that Victoria, BC is on Vancouver Island and it's on the southern tip of it. So it's actually, if you look at a map, it's lower than like the border of the US and Canada draws into the Salish Sea ocean area. And so Victoria, British Columbia is actually further south than Vancouver. So it's convenient. And there is a high-speed passenger ferry that leaves straight out of downtown Seattle, the Victoria Clipper. And it's such a convenient way to be able to have a weekend getaway. And I do want to just say that thank you to the Victoria Clipper for inviting me on this trip. It was a press trip. I was hosted on this trip, but I have been to Victoria multiple times. And so all these thoughts and opinions are my own. I was invited up with the Clipper Vacations to check out Victoria as a fall harvest thing, which included something you're going to be very excited to hear about, wine tasting, which I had no idea that Victoria has a long-lasting wine growing culture and winemaking culture. So I had no idea about that. But for those who are also in Seattle, another popular way to get to Victoria is with seaplanes on Kenmore Air. So I've never done that aspect. They are, of course, small float planes. And then I think from Vancouver, you can do Harbour Air that gets you over there as well. And then, of course, there's like the Vancouver ferries. There is also a car ferry from Port Angeles, which is over on the Olympic Peninsula by Hurricane Ridge and Olympic National Park. So if you if you're coming into Seattle to visit Olympic National Park, you could then get across on the Blackball ferry. But the Victoria Clipper is just so convenient. It's right there downtown. It's right next to one of the popular waterfront hotels called the Edgewater, kind of on the northern part of the downtown corridors. It is walkable to Pike Place Market, stuff like that, but it is a little bit further north from that.
Yeah, that's super convenient. That's really nice. And when Glenn and Hannah and I went to Vancouver quite a few years ago, we were going to do one of those Harbour Air like float planes because it's always like Glenn's dream to do a float plane. So I think for some people, it's like a bucket list thing. So maybe that's a neat way to do it. We ended up, It was raining, so we canceled our float plane. We ended up doing one in Alaska at some point. But yeah, that would be like a fun way to arrive. I
don't know what the flight time would be. The fast ferry it's like under 3 hours. On the way home, I think we got in about 2.5 hours. So right around 4, I think we left at 1:30. Right around the 2.5 hour mark is what I think.
So if you did this car free, you must have stayed pretty central then. Like, how did you get around?
Yeah, so it drops off the ferry drops off right in the main Victoria Harbour area, which is great. And we stayed at a hotel I got to stay at a while back, and I got to stay there again, called the Inn at Laurel Point. And it is a fabulous property. I haven't stayed there for a few years, so I'd forgotten how much I liked it. Most recently, I went at the holiday season, and they put us up at the Coast Hotel, which is a little bit further away from the main harbor city center than what the Inn at Laurel Point is. So again, I'm used to walking around. I'm very comfortable with it. So for me, it's a very convenient little sidewalk walk, and you're right downtown Victoria with no issue whatsoever. And you get to walk past the Parliament building, or I think they call it legislature building. I think of Parliament because it's like Victorian, British, UK. They have a big British nods in a lot of the gift shops and stuff.
Yeah. There's a Fairmont there too, right?
There is. So that was what I was going to bring up. So at the kind of U of the harbor, at the very end is the very popular and prestigious Fairmont Empress, which I have yet to stay at. I've had a high tea there, but I have not yet
Nice.
stayed there. So it's on my, I have contacts. I've been talking to them and would love to stay there. But this one, I did stay at the Inn at Laurel Point, which is a really fabulous property if you're not doing the Fairmont stay type thing. The Inn at Laurel Point is, I love it. They have an amazing restaurant and everything. And they're a little bit outside of the bustle of the main downtown, right at the inner harbor. So that's nice if you want to be able to get a little bit away. And it feels it's next to a walking path park, and there was Canadian geese out there, and you get to see the float planes take off and land. And so it's really cool. And it's a little closer to Fisherman's Wharf, which is a popular area where people take whale watching tours. And there's some good restaurants down there. I think it's a good middle of the road place, and it's a gorgeous property. It was
Nice.
designed by an architect kind of thing. And so it's got this very like architectural modern feel to it. The customer service was fabulous. And we stayed in the Erickson wing, which was looks like a boat, cruise shippy type thing. But my room was like, Tamara, it's so large and fabulous and had a beautiful balcony view
Wow.
over the harbor. All the rooms there have water views.
Nice.
I think there's 6 classic ones that don't have water views in the old tower. So the original tower, if you're saving some money, you can stay in the Laurel Tower. But if you want to go with the upgraded, nicer rooms, which have a beautiful kind of large tub, not jetted tub, but just large tub. And I did take advantage of the large tub both times. And they have I'll never say it right, the La Occitan,
oh yeah,
whatever that French word, bath products. And so it's definitely, I think they said they consider themselves a 4-star type property. And so,
nice. Yeah, my only experience with Victoria was just our stop there on an Alaska cruise, which, as you know, like that's a pretty short stop. So the one thing that I've always heard about is was it Butchart Garden?
yeah. Actually, yeah, I learned how to say that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, go ahead.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about some of the things to do on a weekend getaway.
Yeah, I'm going to take you through my trip and some of the stuff I did, because it was different than what I've done before. So if you remember me talking about Victoria before, I did new stuff that I hadn't heard of. So we did go to, it's called Butch Art. So I have to remember it that way. Butch Art.
And I'm always trying to make it sound nicer. Like
I know. Yep. Nope. Butch Art Gardens. And so we did go there, and I got for the very first time to experience high tea there, which I had not yet done. So I did high tea at the Fairmont, which is lovely, but the high tea at the Butch Art Gardens was especially, I think it was just neat for me because it's in the original home of the Butch Arts. And it feels like you're in this garden area, and the room we were in even overlooks like her private garden, which is closed off and not given to guests. They're no longer with us. They're no longer living, but it's just an absolutely beautiful classic home with just beautiful wood paneling, and the glass, windows are just gorgeous. So I shared a couple of pictures on my story, but the high tea was amazing. They were so good with food allergies and anything people needed. We had a couple of pescatarians in the group, and it worked out great. And the price point is not bad at all. If I recall correctly, I think it was $49 per person, which was not bad. And then if you factor in the fact as traveling Americans, our money is basically worth, you almost get a 25 to 30% discount on everything, which was very nice. So loved that. And then of course we did a quick little tour around the gardens, which one of my favorite things is going to the gardens during Christmas time, because they do a 12 days of Christmas. So she was talking about how they'll be prepping for that soon. And I was thinking I want to go back and see that again. But right now it's neat. I had no idea. I just learned this. The gardens, they go through a group of staff, and they dig everything up and replant stuff. And then they take the plants they've dug up and put them in the greenhouse. And so it's a constant evolving. So she's like, we're transitioning from summer to fall. So she would point out some beds and she'd be like, that's summer, that's fall. And I had I understand it, but I never actually considered that they would have
you think, those things just bloom now versus.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, that's exactly what I thought. Oh, that's what's blooming, and the other stuff's hidden or pruned away, or I don't know. But yeah, I didn't consider that.
It's a lot of work. My goodness.
So much work. Yeah, can't even
I don't
imagine.
even know
So
what to do with my hydrangea out back. I'm like,
I
should I
know.
trim it? What do I do? Like, I'm so
Yeah,
bad at gardening.
I think I got a little happy with my hydrangea trimming this past year, and mine didn't flower this year. So I was like, oh, maybe I went a little too aggressive with that. But it got green leaves. But anyways, but so thankfully they're the experts on it. I will note that the Butch Art Gardens it's not in downtown Victoria, and I've mentioned this before, but people just don't always realize that. So when I visited with Amelia in the past, we've taken a taxi. I believe they have Uber in Victoria now. They didn't for a while, and but it is pricey to get up there. You can book it if you do come up on like the Clipper. They have the Clipper vacation packages, and sometimes you get a deal if you book like your hotel and some of your activities with the Clipper. So that's something to consider because that includes the bus transfer up to the gardens. And it can be really convenient. I was talking to them because they said you just pick the time based on when the boat comes in and different things, and they get you up to the gardens. And then
Nice.
they have various buses coming back. So once you're done, you just wait for the next bus and you come back into town. So
Good. Yeah.
just keep that into mind if you are doing a car-free weekend that you need to consider getting to the gardens. But yeah, so we did that. We also went into the Inner Harbor, and they're doing something. I don't know if you've heard this. Canada has been making a big push towards recognizing their First Nations
hmm
and trying to bring those voices to modern tourism a little bit more. And they're doing they called it a place making project in the Inner Harbor, which I thought that was a really cool word or explanation of what they're trying to do. And they're trying to make the Inner Harbor, which evidently was a very important cultural like meeting point for a lot of the local, I guess some nations or other terms. I'm not sure about all the different First Nations that they have in the region, but trying to make it a place where it used to be that those different nations would come together and meet in the harbor area and so it was a very important cultural place for them. And so they're trying to bring that in a little more. So they hired some artists to make some nice art pieces. And it's a self-guided, if you look it up on the website, the Harbor Authority has an explanation of some of the pieces. And I was glad we were shown them because I think the average person just walking through wouldn't know.
Mm.
But mostly year round, but especially during the summer, they have like a farmer's market-y craftsman stalls set up on the Inner Harbor. And so they have, normal, what you would expect at a craft fair type setup. But then on one side of the harbor, right under where the pretty flowers say welcome to Victoria, they have a piece of art that on the light posts there that talk about, I think it says Indigenous Walk, or I'd have to look at my photo for that, but they actually allow local artisans from the First Nations come and set up their own booths there. And so they said that's a really good place where if you want to buy some authentic art, that would be the place to do it. So I thought that was really neat.
I feel
So they're
like
giving them
Canada,
their own section.
they do a really good job of acknowledging. Obviously, they have a rough history the same way, maybe not as bad as ours. They certainly with the schools and things, but they've
Yeah.
done such a good job in all of their national parks that I've visited to make
Oh,
sure that
yeah.
those voices are represented, their stories are told. Like there's
Yeah.
always been like a First Nations like storyteller or just some kind of cultural liaison. And then the signage and even things in the different languages. So I feel like they have done a
Right.
much better job in terms of, I
Yeah.
don't want to say like reconciliation of these
Awareness,
things, but yeah.
yeah, trying to at least. That's why I like the term placemaking.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice where it's like they're trying to be cognizant of it. Yeah, so that's a brief little thing I'll mention, but I'll finish out some of the awesome things we did, and then I do want to talk about a couple of the places we ate because they were amazing. But the next thing I want to talk about is this Malahat, I hope I'm saying that, skywalk experience,
Mm.
which is the neat thing. Again, it's not in the main downtown corridor, but they have 3 free shuttles every day that drive you up there and then you can get back. So I thought that was really convenient to be able to happen. And I guess the Malahat Nation, and I apologize if that's not the correct term, but that's what I understand it. They own that land, and this was created in partnership with them. And so some of the proceeds and everything also go back to supporting them. And I guess it's a really small nation, so that's nice. But what you do is you walk in, and it reminds me a lot of the Vessel in New York City, actually. And supposedly there's a few of these skywalk vessel-y type things in other areas of Europe. And so this one is not associated with those same ones, but you go out, you walk in a tree area on this almost like a bridge walk. And then all of a sudden you come up to it looks like a beehive, but it's just a circular, I don't know, walkway ramp that you walk up, and you can look out over the mountains and you can see the ocean. She was even saying, she's like, watch here, spend a minute, because sometimes we've been seeing whales from the lookout. And so you get all the way up to the top, and there's like a net that you can walk on or lay on that's it's not over the outside, it's over the inner
Even
part. But
still.
I had no problem with it, but some people would not love that. Yeah. There was some of our group, they're like, nope, I'm not going out there. And I'm like out there like laying on it and posing and everything. But so you do that. And there's these really cool sculptures also. They hired a local artist that kind of made all these sculptures around the area with natural products. So most of it's wood, but there's also like lobster claws used for the talons of the eagle that's at the top. And it's just gorgeous. So you do that, and then you come back down about 3 levels, and there's a slide. And so if you want, you can walk all the way back down, or you can go down the slide, which is just this metal tube slide.
Is it like a curvy one? Okay, yeah.
Yep. Little bit of a curvy. Yep. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. So we did that. And then they do have a little nature walk. If you want to go back after you're done with that, you can go back. They've also got some Adirondack. How do you say that word? Adirondack chairs. Like I'm blanking on how I say that word. Sitting around the area. So if you want to just take in nature a little bit, so it's at your own pace. They had a great gift shop with some really cool, cute gift shoppy things, but also some local artisan stuff as well. And then they had drip coffee and machine hot cocoa, but great for if it's a little chilly. And yeah. So loved that experience. That was something I hadn't done. I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool.
Unique and cultural. It's nice.
Yep. Yeah. So that was awesome. And then after we did that, we joined up and went to 3 of the local wineries, which again, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but let's just say it's not a new thing. Like these wineries that they're putting in have been around for a while.
So what is it?
Remember the year?
Whites, or what kind of varietals do they have?
Yeah, whites and reds, but a lot of whites, I would say, is what they're doing. But they are playing around with Pinot Noirs. There was a lot of Pinot Noirs. 2 of the places we went were known for their Pinot Noirs.
Climate change.
I know. So it's
like
kind of a cool thing.
Growing champagne and not champagne. They're growing sparkling or making sparkling wine in England.
Yeah. They have a sparkling wine here, and they're trying to trademark this term of how they do it. It's called like Cham de Lille. And it's supposed to be like, oh, you have to be in Cowlitz County, I think is the name, or Cowlitz area or something. And it's made in this special way. They ferment it, like double batching it, or I don't know. I can't remember all the processes, but they are playing. And so 2 of the places we went are doing this charmed sparkling process. So I actually bought one of the wines. So we went to Blue Grouse Estate Winery. And it was amazing, gorgeous property. It used to be in this dude's little basement, and now they've just recently built this gorgeous tasting room that was just, it's probably one of the most beautiful tasting rooms I've been to. And of course, we're visiting in October. And so you're looking out over all the fall colors are happening all around you. And it's a little bit of an undulation of the ground. So you can see. You see the vines and you see the old house. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
It is such a good time of year to go wine tasting.
Yeah. So we met up with the tour guide, which the Clipper Vacations uses for their wine tours, because you can book this wine tour package with the boat, and they provide lunch for the tour. Of course, we were on our own, but they did come meet with us to just explain how they would do a wine tour if you booked it through Clipper Vacations. And they brought us these tiffin. Do you know the tiffin, the metal 3-tier?
I don't know what it is. I feel like I should know, but I can't think of it right now.
It's common in Asia. I think more like India type influence, if I'm correct, but it's like what you would pack your lunch to go. And so it's 3 little, almost like bento boxes, right? So like 3 little, so it's stacked up. And so the bottom had like cheese and ham and pepperoni. And then the middle one was this delicious broccoli salad. And the top was some berries and everything. And so they met us there while we were doing our wine tasting at Blue Grouse, and we were able to eat and experience what it's like for if you book the wine tour. And it was just yummy. It was just what I needed. It was like like your own little mini charcuterie board for your lunch.
That's
So I
really
thought that
nice
was
to know that you
cool.
can book something again, like through the Clipper, so you don't need to stress about trying to find transportation or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And that you're going to all these wineries and at least, oh, I'm going to have some food. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was great. So from Blue Grouse, we left for this really small, literally mon pa type operation out of, I think it's like their garage or a little side barn or something. And it's called Venturi Schultz Vineyards. And I think the mom was a microbiologist and they came with, I don't know where all the influence comes from, but the original farmhouse is like from 1890s and it was expanded and renovated and they added this little tasting room which is basically a bar and you walk up, but in addition to all the wines they serve, which I will say their wines are very like the winemaker. I think it's the daughter Michelle might be the winemaker. If I'm correct, she's the one that did the tasting with us, but I'd never figured out if she's the actual winemaker as well. But they're definitely like in your face with some of them. Like you either love it or maybe it's not your style, but the way she describes it is just amazing. She was a character. She was fabulous. But the other thing they're known for is balsamic vinegar.
Hmm.
And she was very particular about how people mislabel and missell balsamic vinegar. And she's like, how you should have this Kirkland balsamic vinegar has its place, but then you need this. They sell two different ones. One's $50 balsamic vinegar and the other one's $100 balsamic vinegar. And so we tasted those balsamics and it was amazing. So
I
you
can
would
believe
appreciate
it. I went to a balsamic vinegar. It was on a winery because grapes.
Yeah, like they're made from the wine grapes. Yeah, exactly.
And when I was in Italy and I bought a bottle and we just recently cracked it open and Glenn was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, I know, that's why it's $50 a bottle, but it's like liquid gold, I think they call it.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So that was neat that this was just such a different feeling from we go to the one that has the gorgeous brand new tasting room that's just fabulous. And then we're like this other tasting room that's this tiny family owned run. I think she said they maybe do 1,000 bottles a year and it's all sold locally. They don't distribute or anything. So it's just fun to have had a variety. And then our last winery we went to, which is Enrico Winery. And it's more that traditional, like it gave me California wine vibes. Like I think it maybe had a wedding that was just wrapping up or something, but it had the stretching out fields of wine all around you and you come into it. But the wine room itself, it felt like it was cool. It was just like a small little house that almost felt like somebody's kitchen. And so it was cool how it was set up. So it was very not California, but that was what I was expecting when I first pulled in, but it was really cool. And the guy that tasted, his name is Lauren, that did our tasting there, and he was just fabulous. And you could tell he had real enthusiasm. And I ended up buying 2 wines from there too. I brought home 4 bottles of wine and a bottle of balsamic this trip.
Well, it's the good thing about taking the Clipper and not a plane, right? Because
exactly.
You can easily
stuck him in my bag, had no issue. And again, like I said, the dollar is really strong for Americans right now. So it's very convenient. So they had this wine called Coronet, and it was a Petite Milo or Milo. Never heard of it. It's in the Riesling family, I think.
Okay.
That's what's common up there with the whites. Okay. It's in the Riesling family.
That makes sense, yeah.
But doesn't come, but also very acidic. So also Pinot Gris, things like that. So I ended up bringing home a Pinot Gris from one winery. I brought home this Petite Milo, which I already shared with a friend last night. And so it's gone. And it was just fabulous. And so highly recommend that. And then I also from them, I bought a Pinot Noir and brought that home because it was just delicious. So definitely had fun wine tasting there in an area I never would have guessed. I had no idea that Victoria had a wine culture. So that was very cool.
Nice. Definitely sounds like a fun romantic getaway or girls getaway with all these different things. Because I know you've visited with your girls before. So then you're into like the whale watching and more of that kind of stuff. Is there anything else that you did that you wanted to mention?
Yeah. One last thing that I wanted to mention that we did on our final morning there before I talk about the 2 restaurants, because I know we're going long, but the one last thing we did was called Ritual Nordic Spa, and it's in downtown Victoria, and it's like a day pass Nordic spa experience.
Can I just ask, why does Canada have the best Nordic spas and we have like none in the US? Everywhere I go in Canada, there's like really good Nordic spas. Anyway.
I would love to know. No, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
So we were there for 2 hours. They booked us in for 2 hours. I wished I could stay longer. It was so nice. So you do it's the whole hot cold
Mhm.
rest therapy concept. And so they have there a steam room, a sauna room, a cold plunge pool, a salt room. Then they've got the cold bucket shower, a normal shower with hot cold. So if you don't want to get quite the cold bucket.
Mhm.
And then they had a private patio space with seating as well. So when you do your resting, you can rest outdoors if you want instead of in the salt room. Or
Mhm.
I tried it all. And the steam room, oh my goodness, it was just that menthol, steamy. Oh,
I love it. It was just
steam rooms are like one of my guilty
we're
pleasures. My
trying
skin feels so
Yeah.
good.
Glenn and I are like looking to redo our shower and or our bathroom. And he was suggesting that we have, because we just have space considerations. Like, okay, if we want to change the layout at all, like, how do we work within this space? And so he wanted to have maybe like an open door. Like, he's like, we can just have a wet area. I'm like, no. I said, one of the best pleasures in my life is a steamy shower. And if
Yeah.
I could have a steam shower in my bathroom, I absolutely would do that if we could afford, or
Yeah.
because I hear that they're horrible with like maintenance and stuff too.
Maintenance.
But I
Yeah.
was like,
So
I
miserable.
love a
Yep.
steam shower. Do not take that away from me.
100% agree. Yeah. Yeah, this was just amazing. I did come out of there. They had a locally made by a local First Nations woman, this eucalyptus spray that you spray in your shower. And it's better than the like shower steamers.
Mhm.
This is way better than the shower
Mm.
steamers. It actually sticks around. So I was like, I'm buying some of that because I fell in love with that steam room. Yeah. And the patio area was just lovely. And they do massages there. So you can book a massage. And then they also have a private. So again, if we're talking couples getaway, they have a private little sauna and cold plunge that you can rent with a private patio for 2 hours if you want to do that. And then a private infrared sauna, which I tested out too, that cycles through the different lights. So it's like red and yellow and green and blue,
Yeah.
and they all are supposed to do stuff with you. And
I've done like recently, like I had seen an infrared sauna and I'm like, I don't get the point of this. It's not as hot. Like, what's going on? But because of the stage of life that I'm going through, I'm reading all these like menopause books and all this stuff. And
yeah.
there's actually a lot to be said for red light therapy. And I was like, oh,
Yep.
okay. Like, now I want to
Yeah.
find like locally, where can I go back and do a red light infrared sauna?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, anyways, I highly recommend. And again, it's downtown. So if you want to get a taxi or drive or just walk there, totally doable. Not hard at all.
Nice.
So I highly recommend that. So yeah, that's all that I share with the things to do. I'll quickly share.
Can I
the two
come next
restaurants.
time?
I would love it. Hey, you and I, let's figure it out. I'll talk to them. We can do
Nice.
it. You can fly out, see me in Seattle, and we'll catch the Clipper and head up there. The first place I want to mention where we ate is called Aura, and that's at the inn at Laurel Point. It's AURA. And they also have a really cute coffee shop there that has the best croissant I've ever had. And granted, I've not had croissants in France, but oh my goodness, this croissant was huge. It was puffy and it was so crispy on the outside and just so tender, and like the lamination on it. Oh, I'm dreaming of it. I should have bought like 12 dozen to bring home. Anyways, that's Duo Coffee, but they have an in-house restaurant called Aura, AURA, and we did a tasting menu with them. And can I just say, fabulous, like unbelievable food. They had just really neat, I guess I would say it was almost like a Pacific Northwest fusion. So lots of fish and just lots of great flavors, and yeah, amazing. Yeah, that one's the one it's easy if you're staying at the inn at Laurel Point. Highly recommend a nice dinner there. And they have a beautiful view over the harbor. So you can ask or request like for, again, couple getaway. It's a fabulous place to have dinner. And then on our last night there, we ate at a place, really funny vibe, that's called Endive. And so it's END dive. And it's a pescatarian restaurant. And it gave me like bar pub vibes, but I guess they do standard as 2 seatings, especially like during busy season. And so you come in during one season and come and then go, but it's a pescatarian menu only. And they have a lot of change in the menu. So it's going to be a different experience every time. And they like it to be a little more family style. So it'd probably be the type of thing where you and Glenn would like it, where you could order, let's try this and this. And they have like small size for the appetizer. And they had these roasted carrots there were just amazing. And there was like one of the salads looked fabulous. The scallops supposedly were amazing. They had a mushroom lobster meatball, but it wasn't meat, obviously. So I don't know. Yeah, you get the idea.
Mhm.
So it's just amazing, really unique. It's definitely a foodie menu. So if you're adventurous with the food combos, it was just amazing. So just reading the menu, I was like, wow, this place is like crazy. So yeah, very awesome.
It sounds like a really fun getaway.
Fabulous getaway. Highly recommend it. It was amazing.
And if you guys want to listen to our previous episode when you went with, I guess it was Mia or with both the girls, that is episode 139. You can always go back in the archive because you talked a little bit more about how to take the clipper and some of those more logistical details.
Things.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Yeah. I remember that. We did a fun ropes course on that one too, and whale watching. But yeah.
Good.
Very cool.
When this comes out, you and I are going to be together in Turkey.
Oh, yeah. I need to learn hello and thank you in Turkish and goodbye.
Yeah.
I got to put that on my agenda because I was going to say something now in Turkish. I'm like, I know nothing.
Yeah.
I have to figure that out.
I don't. I just switched after doing like how many years of Italian Duolingo? I just switched to Spanish because Glenn and I are going to go to Chile next year. And now it looks like maybe Hannah and I are going to Peru as well. And even she was like, oh, I need to switch to, because I forget what language she's doing now, but she's like, I need to switch to Spanish. And I'm like, yeah.
I will say I have heard Chilean Spanish is
I've heard that too.
Insanely hard.
Yeah. Very different.
Yeah.
It's like when we went to Portugal and I had been doing Duolingo and then I didn't realize it was Brazilian Portuguese and they were just like looking at me like.
You said something about like a hot dog. Yeah. You thought you were saying something about cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah. So anyway, but we'll be happy to share that. But yeah, stay tuned. The next episode, Kim and I are going to put together a list of places that we think would be really great for you to go to in 2025. So if you need some inspiration as you start thinking about planning for next year, make sure to
we're
tune
also
into
adding a couple of places that you might want to avoid.
Yes.
At least one.
Yes. Important to know.
We will talk to you guys soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and rate and review on your favorite podcast app, as that helps other people discover us. And if you want to see more, follow me, Tamara, at Your Time to Fly on Instagram and Facebook and all the others.
And you can follow me, Kim, at Stuffed Suitcase on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, my blog.